Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about the Immuta 2021.4.1 release and what that means for our Snowflake integration. So for those who aren't familiar, Immuta is a data access and governance platform that was born out of the US intelligence community. Part of our goal with Immuta is to enable the ethical and legal use of data by making data access and governance very automated and streamlined, enabling users in your organization to build rules and policies to help ensure their data is protected in a consistent manner. So jumping right in, let's switch over to a Snowflake workbook, and we're going to take a look at a credit card transactions table today. As part of this demo, we're going to walk through Immuta, talk about how it interacts with Snowflake, talk about the value proposition that Immuta provides to Snowflake directly. And so here is an example table. We're going to go through Immuta, and we're actually going to build policy that will in turn create Snowflake policies based on the rules that we create in Immuta. So the first thing I've done here is I've actually registered a credit card transactions table from Snowflake. If you look over on the right-hand side here, you'll notice that this is actually pulling metadata from the Snowflake classification tagging system that was just released as well. And so what this means is now you can start building policy based on the categorization of your data, whether that's coming from a third-party solution like Elation or Calibra, or the built-in functionality now that's available within Snowflake directly. Jumping over to the data dictionary, you'll see that Immuta has actually run something called sensitive data detection here. So this is something Immuta provides out of the box that does auto classification as you onboard Snowflake. So when you start building new policy, Immuta will seamlessly start integrating the sensitive data detection every time you register a new table, allowing you to automatically enforce policy, whether that's a subscription policy that denotes how people get access to information, or if it's a data policy that says, hey, you can only see masked PII information because you don't have the certification on your user profile. And so that's a good segue into our policy builder. So switching over to the policy window within Immuta, we have a couple of different subscription policies created already. I'm just going to highlight the fraud analytics dataset access policy I've created here already. Looking at this, you'll notice that this is very easy for users to understand. So in Snowflake, you would typically have to create grant statements to give access to information. With Immuta, we kind of allow you to build your policies in an easy to understand way, which really empower your business analysts, your data governors, your data stewards to have access to create policy around data. And so what this means now is that any user that logs into Snowflake that has a department of finance or analytics on their user profile will now get access to this information that has credit card transaction information in it. So in Immuta, we're defining that as new tables come on in Snowflake, when we detect those, we'll actually automatically apply a subscription policy granting access to users based on this sensitivity level that we've pulled out of our sensitive data detection. We can also use Snowflake tags or those third-party catalogs, as I mentioned earlier, to drive this policy. So now as you start adding more data sources, Immuta will seamlessly protect that, really reducing your policy overhead and the amount of work that it takes to get new tables into Snowflake. So switching over to our data policy, we're actually going to mask that sensitive PII information that's available in this data set. So activating this policy, you'll see that it actually goes out and applies it as soon as I turn it on. But jumping into the policy window, I want to again highlight the ease of use of Immuta. So there's a couple of ways users get access to information within Immuta. So the first way is something called attribute-based access control. And essentially what this means is we pull information off of users' profiles, whether that's Okta, LDAP, a SAML provider, and we let you build policy dynamically in Snowflake based on those attributes. So looking here, you'll see I have this PII information that we've classified is going to be masked regardless of where it lives. And again, we're going to apply this on a table that has a credit card number, right? So regardless of what table we're looking at, anytime we detect this credit card number, we're going to apply this policy saying the only time you can see PII is you operate under something called a purpose in Immuta of fraud detection, and your user profile says you are in finance. And so that gets into the second way we can control access within Immuta, purpose-based access control. So what this means is you can actually assign a legal reason or a purpose to why people get access to information. And so what you can see here is I'm assigning that purpose as an exclusion rule. So if users are trying to prevent fraud, they can actually come into Immuta, change their context, and now they'll be able to see that PII information in the clear if they are working finance and they're working a fraudulent detection case. And so jumping back over to Snowflake now, what will happen behind the scenes is we've actually built a masking policy. So my user is querying this table directly, and now what's going to happen is because that user's profile is saying they're doing a normal 9-to-5 job, you'll see all of that PII information is masked. And if I run a group by query to show you the different country codes in this data set, you'll see that user still has access to quite a few different countries. And so that's going to segue into our next policy that's going to segment this data based on who the user is. I'm going to activate this approved countries policy. If I dive into the policy editor here and just show you, this is going to basically create a segmentation policy. This is going to segment the data that comes back to the user based on a list of countries that are on their user profile, unless they're acting under this fraud detection purpose. So now if we go back into Snowflake, this has transparently applied another row masking policy to this data set. So now when my user runs their query, they're getting back that list of country codes coming off their user profile. And again, this allows Snowflake to get data into the platform quicker with less friction. This really enables users to scale their policy without having to create a lot of roles in Snowflake and managing all the changes. So jumping back over to Immuta now, we're going to say we need to work under this fraud detection project. And Immuta will audit log this change here. I've actually associated a purpose with this. It says I will agree to use the data set for a specific reason. Now, if I jump back into Snowflake, this policy has applied transparently, so my user can now run their query again. And because I'm operating under that context, the user will only get access, will be able to see all the countries in that data set. And so the next thing I want to talk about with our 2021.4.1 release is an impersonation mechanism that we've built into Immuta. And what this means now, if you have BI tools using service accounts, we have the ability to let that service account impersonate other users. So what that means for Snowflake users is now when your Tableau report, your ThoughtSpot report, any of these different BI platforms are connecting to Snowflake, we can actually still apply user policy because we enable this impersonation mode, where when that current account comes through to Snowflake, you'll actually be able to apply a policy based on who that user is. And so that has been a brief overview of the Immuta product in 2021.4.1. I hope you found this useful. For more information, please reach out to us. We have a lot more documentation on our website at immuta.com. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video today.